Can you beat Halo Combat Evolved on Legendary without killing any grunts? If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I primarily focus on lore-based content. One of my favorite aspects of Halo's story is the grunts. This insane idea was born from that. The rules of the challenge are simple. At no point can I personally kill a grunt for any reason. If they need to die for the level to progress, they'll have to die from alternative means. The game cannot say that I was the one that dealt the killing blow. To keep things interesting, it has to be on Legendary. Easy would be exactly that. Too easy. I'm also not going to be using any helpful skulls like Acrophobia, Bandana, or Grunt Funeral. That feels like cheating. Oh, and no co-op either. I've got to serve my sentence solo. I did have Sputnik on in the first 2 missions, but eventually opted to turn it off when I got to the 3rd. I'll explain why later. All right, now that you know the rules, let's go. The Pillar of Autumn is the first mission in the game, and good God was it brutal. The tight corridors made moving around the enemies a chore, especially considering they physically blocked me at just about every turn. This isn't a speedrun though, thankfully. All I need to do is get from A to B without slaying any Ungoi. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Right? Yeah, no, it's extremely hard.
Be cool? No. Oh, of course he goes for the melee. God damn it. Golly! Oh, it's gonna be so annoying to see. God damn it.
This is gonna be a lot harder than I thought. All right, let's talk strategy. The beginning of the first mission is extremely straightforward. All you have to do is run through the Pillar of Autumn until you get to keys. You have no weapons, so no enemies can be killed. Easy. The very first room where you encounter enemies that you can actually kill is populated by 3 grunts. 3 grunts that have to die in order for this door to open. So, how do I proceed? Simple, actually. If you run full speed instantly after acquiring the Magnum, they just don't spawn and the door opens instantly. Problem solved. The next few sections of the level mostly just consist of running like hell, getting lucky, occasionally taking out a few elites, and hoping for a little help from the Marines. One of the earlier rooms in the mission is absolutely packed full of grunts and elites. Thanks to the high quantity of enemies, running past wasn't really an option. So instead, I opted to carefully pick off the elites from behind this little strut thingy. I tried to kill this guy to trigger the grunt's panicked state, but most of them didn't care at all. I did manage to slip by and grab an overshield though. The next section was the first real roadblock. Making it up the ramps to the 2nd floor was easy, but the next room after it was a completely different story. This part was genuinely tough. I spent a long time hiding behind a barricade, trying to chip away at elite shields with a plasma rifle. It wasn't very effective, and it was very slow. Even more annoyingly though, the grunts kept standing in my line of fire and getting blasted in the face, leading to an inevitable reset.
Move, you fucking idiot! God damn it.
The bulk of my time in the Pillar of Autumn was spent hiding right here. I tried a few other things too, like throwing some stickies at the elites, but needless to say, that was a little inconsistent. Until I got super lucky and it actually worked. Both elites died, all the grunts lived, and it triggered them to all run in fear, giving me the perfect opportunity to run up to one of those weird crate things and hide behind it. I knew I'd need some more shield to survive the altercation with the next few elites, and I was lucky enough to regain it without consequence. After I was satisfied with my health, I booked it forwards, tearing through the elites' shields to stun them and just barely, I mean barely, slipping by.
Prepare to abandon ship. Combat rooms. Repel borders until hostiles are away.
With one of the hardest rooms behind me and a fresh health kit to boost both my damage intake and my confidence, I made my way to the next room, which contains a measly 3 grunts. All I had to do was run up to them to trigger the opening of a maintenance access tunnel, then run back until the animation finished so I could pass through without getting shot in my back too much. This next room was extremely unforgiving and highly dependent on luck. Several elites that stand far away from each other and a ton of grunts blocking my path made this section very challenging. I died here a lot. The best strategy I employed was to simply run like hell, shooting the elite blocking my path right before the Cryo Bay observation room. I also killed the Sangheili at the very end of the hall as well, just to be safe, and then booked it to the next access tunnel, which has 2 grunts in it. One thing about CE that I find very obnoxious is the fact that you absolutely cannot push NPCs around. If you bump into them, they're like brick walls, which makes these 2 little shits somewhat annoying.
All right. God damn you.
Eventually though, after many attempts, I finally made it.
Yeah, run that way. Yes!
With just 2 major rooms left, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I was starting to feel hopeful now. I could do this. I thought on my feet and shot one of the grunts in the next area in the back, scaring them all and making them run away, giving me ample time to make it inside the next maintenance tunnel. It was here that my hope was stripped away from me. The last section of enemies has to be killed in order for the escape pod to become accessible and end the mission. There's no way around this. Knowing that, I sat in the tunnels for a while, trying to kill the elites and thinking about how I could creatively take down the grunts using some marines or something, when suddenly, this happened.
This is the one room I was worried about.
There's one last lifeboat. Quickly, get aboard before it launches.
Deal. What the hell just happened? Is it on a timer? Oh, bro! Is that pillar bottom, bro? Let's come on, come on. Yes! Let's go! 24 elites.
With the Pillar of Autumn now behind me, I was much more confident to tackle Halo. For the most part, I figured this mission would be pretty easy. Most of the enemies in the level don't need to be killed to progress. The first trick I used is a grenade jump off a rock right at the start of the level. This isn't required in any way, it just looks cool, is a bit faster, and despawns the first few enemies at the top of this hill. Immediately after that is the first group of Marines that, according to Cortana, you need to help protect until Echo 419 can fly in to pick them up. We're not going to do that though. Instead, we're just gonna scoot right on by. We won't have a Warthog because of it, but it beats trying to stay behind and deal with the waves of grunts. After a short walk, I arrived at a gap that's intended to be cleared with a Warthog, but it's easily doable with a grenade jump and leads me to the large open room with a light bridge. There's a lot of enemies here, but I sidestepped them all by walking along the left side, moving towards the bridge and hopping across a death pit. Shortly after, I did a very easy grenade jump to reach the light bridge activation panel. With the mechanism active, I ran down and back the way I came to make another explosive-assisted leap and continue on my merry way. And with that out of the way, it's time for a nice and relaxing walk. The next area requires you to defend 3 additional groups of Marines from Covenant forces until evac arrives. The cool thing about this part is that you can freely save them in the order of your choosing, which gave me an interesting opportunity for strategizing. However, instead of helping the fellow soldiers out, we're going to do the unthinkable. We're going to commit multiple murders!
It's nothing personal.
If the Marines die, the mission progresses and the enemies don't need to be killed, at least not until the final group. So, that means all the baddies have to die in at least one section, meaning it's up to me to determine which of the 3 is the easiest and contains the least amount of grunts to contend with. My initial gut reaction was to save the group that was within the beam emitter tower for last. My logic was that this would be the easiest of the 3 to deal with because there's only one wave of enemies, and once they're all gone, the level ends. So, I got to work killing the Marines in the other 2 sections. Once the other 2 groups had been eliminated, I started clearing out the elites and jackals around the final structure. Eventually, I was satisfied that they were all dead and I made my way inside. I figured that maybe the Marines could handle the remaining grunts if I soaked up some of the incoming fire. I was wrong. They died instantly every time. I quickly determined that this run was a bust. I'd have to rethink this strategy. Just as my hope was almost entirely lost, I had an idea.
Save the rock slide for last. And then keep the sniper Marine alive?
One of the Marines within the group that's hiding in the results of a rock slide has a sniper. My thinking was I could use him to take out the required grunts, despite the fact that saving this small contingent of friendlies actually forces you to fight the most enemies of the 3 sets of troops. Emboldened by my new idea, I reset the mission and got to work. As soon as I arrived, I started taking out the elites and jackals as quickly as I could because I was afraid they might kill the Marine, but in the end, my plan went off without a hitch.
Oh, he can snipe from any distance. Oh, yeah. Now we're cooking, baby. Yeah, this is doable. Take him out, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, come fight me. Go. Yeah, you idiot. I'm about to kill him, actually. Come on, snipe him, buddy. There he goes. There he goes. Step forward. He's done. Look at that, baby. Not a single grunt killed. 2 banshees, 19 elites, 3 marines, 21 jackals.
I may have been celebrating over the completion, but little did I know that absolute hell awaited. The Truth and Reconciliation is nothing short of a nightmare and is absolutely packed to the brim with enemies. On top of that, tons of the grunts in this mission have to be eliminated in order to achieve success. Going into this, I knew the first few sections were overloaded with elites, grunts, and jackals, but I also knew that I could sidestep them all. It just wasn't easy. Seriously, it really wasn't easy. I don't recommend anyone to do this. This is not how the game is meant to be played.
God damn it, man. Dude, I don't understand what is happening. Why am I not getting a check? I guess these grunts went left. Yep. Ah, you dumbass grunt.
I spent quite some time thinking the Marines could help kill the grunts in the first area to increase my survivability, but that literally never worked, and I quickly determined that running was my only option.
Jesus, dude, they're doing horribly.
After a lot of trial and error, I discovered that I could kill the first few elites and jackals, then work my way up to this boulder. Usually, making it to this point will trigger another elite to run in from the back, who I promptly sniped in the face. As soon as he falls, it sends the grunts into a panic, and I'm able to run up to this rock and just barely slip behind it. The trick I found was to hold forward the entire time, otherwise I would plummet off the cliff. I waited here for a few moments while the Marines got butchered and an additional group of grunts followed by 2 jackals pushed forward. Once it seemed like the grunts had moved up enough and were sufficiently distracted by the friendlies, I chucked a frag at the 2 jackals and ran away. If everything worked properly and the grunts didn't push up too quickly, a checkpoint would trigger, and thank God it did because it's absolutely essential for the next section. As soon as the game saved my position, I sniped the jackal on the hill and ran full speed around the left side. If I was lucky, a blue elite would spawn in front of me, allowing me to kill him and send the nearby grunts into a panic. If I wasn't lucky and he spawned elsewhere, I had to revert to last checkpoint. It was virtually impossible to survive otherwise. If all went according to plan, I would run past the dead blue elite and towards the path on the cliff. In some instances, an additional Sangheili would push out instantly and I'd kill him, and others he'd hang back around the corner until I approached him. That was the best case scenario, but it was also the rarest possibility. Many tries later, I managed to slip up and into the next area where I killed 2 jackals and sniped another elite by an active camo pickup. Ignoring every other enemy in the area, I sprinted towards the power-up, and using my partial invisibility, I was able to sneak into the section right below the Truth and Reconciliation. I had no idea how I'd proceed here because every single hostile has to be dead before I can board the ship. I started to think my task was impossible when suddenly my saviors arrived. A group of Marines coming in from a Pelican.
Once we're inside
Reinforcements?
the ship, I can home in on the captain's command neural interface. They'll probably be in or near the ship's bridge.
I quickly learned that if I threw grenades at all of the shade turrets as soon as I entered the area, I could flip them over and prevent any grunts from piloting them.
Requesting reinforcements at our position. Roger, Cortana. Echo 419 on approach.
If an Ungoy managed to slip by and board one, it wasn't the end of the world, but it drastically extended their range, meaning they could essentially snipe me and my Marine compatriots from afar. Keeping these soldiers alive was literally required. If they all perished, I'd have no way to kill the many grunts that dropped out of the Covenant ship. Once the initial group of enemy forces was killed, a spirit would arrive, and after that, wave after wave would come down from the alien spacecraft. Believe it or not, this area is the easiest part of the mission. Each time a wave of hostiles would drop, I'd simply snipe the elite and the jackals as quickly as I could, prompting the grunts to throw their arms into the air in panic. This was the perfect opportunity for the Marines to take them out. This group of soldiers is pretty unique from the many others throughout the game. Instead of running around and doing their own thing, they'll actually follow you, and let me tell you, when they do this, they're a force to be reckoned with. Wave after wave fell to our vicious onslaught until nothing remained. Having played this mission more times than I can count, I knew that only 2 hunters now stood between me and boarding the Covenant ship, officially ending the first section of the mission.
There we go! Yes! Yes!
This area is the bane of my existence. In order to progress, you're expected to hold out in this small room, all the while being attacked from basically every angle. All the enemies have to die. That includes a plethora of grunts. There's no way around it. That meant that I either needed to depend on the Marines again, which seemed nearly impossible, or learn an insanely hard speedrunning glitch that would allow me to bypass this room. A glitch that I had absolutely no clue how to perform.
I know there's this glitch, but I don't know how to do it.
Try as I might, I could not get the glitch to work. So, I called it a day and ended the stream to practice. And now it's time for a training montage.
Three days later.
Yes! Point, bro, yes! Dude. Oh. Yeah, dude.
Alright, let's go over the steps to reproduce this insane glitch, which I wouldn't have been able to do if it weren't for Cambid's wonderful tutorial. Go check it out if you want to do this yourself. First things first. Immediately upon entering the ship, I threw 5 grenades under the parked Wraith. 3 frags and 2 stickies. This is just enough to almost destroy the vehicle. As soon as the explosions died down, I ran to the left side and positioned myself between the left wings of the tank. I quickly lined up one of the points on the wing's geometry with a spot on the back wall, then shot a few plasma pistol bullets at the vehicle to blow it up. If my positioning was right, destroying the craft would cause me to clip into it. Once my hitbox was wedged into the Wraiths, I moved forward, then lined up my reticle with a shape on the wall. As soon as it looked like it was in the right place, I tapped back on the D-pad, causing me to teleport inside the Covenant vehicle. Now that I was inside, I just barely pressed left on the D-pad of my controller until I was wedged into a small pocket towards the back of this glitchy position. I then switched to anniversary graphics and tapped right on my D-pad for literally 1/30th of a second so that I'm perfectly in the seam of one of the Wraith's textures. Next, I lined up my sniper reticle with the top corner of this small black diamond, held jump, then tapped back on my D-pad. This caused me to teleport into the air and out of bounds, at which point I have a second or two to carefully maneuver in mid-air so that I land on an extremely skinny railing below me. Once on the railing, I made my way towards this arch and crouch jumped over an invisible cube, making sure not to move too far to the right and get forced back into the previous room. I then crept along the railing until I got to the end, walked off onto the left side of the ceiling of the hallway below me, and very cautiously moved along it, constantly in fear that I'd step slightly too far to the right and slide into the hall below. Once at the end of the hall, I wedged myself in a tiny invisible nook and held forward before jumping erratically and hoping I make it across to the other side of the hallway. Now that I was up here, I moved forward very slowly, taking care to not get bumped back into the map or into the void by invisible geometry until arriving at this turn. I jumped to the other hall, ran forward while spamming jump, and stopped atop another roof. One final jump remained from a checkpoint, so I positioned myself in the right spot, then held forward, spammed jump, and prayed to whatever divine force that was currently listening. With the checkpoint reached, I was free to screw up a few times before finally jumping around the large room on my right and landing on the roof of another hallway below, finally accomplishing the most difficult glitch I have ever attempted. Thank God that was over. I tried to stay out of the map a little while longer to avoid a few enemies, but messed up a jump and fell back in bounds. Fortunately, I was able to deal with them fairly easily. I sprinted through the hallway and into the hangar bay to prepare for the next glitch, and the reason I opted to disable Sputnik for this mission. All things considered, this trick jump isn't really difficult, but it does require 2 stickies, 3 frag grenades, and some well-timed inputs. All I had to do was run to the back of the room, somehow get the best checkpoint ever, throw 1 sticky at this shadow on the wall, another on the floor where it'll land, and a frag against the crate in front of me. The instant they were about to explode, I grabbed the overshield to give myself momentary invincibility, then jumped. The explosion propelled me up to the next floor, and then I did 2 more simplistic grenade jumps to make it to the top of the 3rd. The next room has even more required grunts, but after screwing around for a little bit, I found a ridiculous strategy that would allow me to kill them all without firing a bullet. All I had to do was kill the gold elite, then run into this hallway. Once inside, I found that I could stand in front of this grating, and for whatever reason, the enemies think they can shoot me. Their constant stream of fire allowed me to position myself in specific places to get the grunts to shoot each other, and eventually the elites to shoot them too. After several tedious minutes, all of the grunts had been killed by friendly fire, and I was free to take out the elites. 1 jackal spawns once they're dead, and killing him triggers 3 more grunts to spawn. They have to die for the level to end, but I'll contend with them later and go through the door that they just opened for me. The next troublesome room is the jail cell containing Captain Keyes. There are 3 grunts and 3 elites in here, all of which have to die, but needless to say, the elites aren't really the problem. The shape of this room prevented me from getting the grunts killed from friendly fire, so I'd have to think of another solution. The only thing I could come up with was baiting a grunt into throwing a bad grenade and hoping the resulting explosion killed them. There's no surefire way to trigger an ungoized grenade throwing animation in CE, so I just had to run in circles around them until they threw one, then hope that the arc sucked and got them killed. Eventually it worked, but it took quite a while and it was very boring.
Kinda like that, baby. Yeah, let's go.
With that grunt dead, it was time for the last section of the level, the dreaded Captain Keyes defense. If Keyes dies here, the game treats it as if you died and forces a reload. That means all of the grunts that I sidestepped to get here, plus several more, are going to be shooting at Keyes and the other Marines. Worse yet, Keyes seems to have the worst AI in the entire game. This is not lore accurate.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Keyes, man, he kills himself constantly.
I tried for a solid hour to get the Marines to kill the grunts, but they failed literally every single time. Eventually, I just said screw it and ran full speed through all of the enemies, narrowly surviving to trigger a checkpoint in one of the final rooms that contained the 3 grunts from earlier, and now 3 active camo sword elites. My original idea was to bait the sword elites into stabbing the grunts instead of me, which could work, but was extremely difficult. While trying this, I noticed a yellow blip on my radar trailing me. By some stroke of unbelievable luck, a Marine had run through behind me and somehow survived. I could use him to kill the grunts.
Wow.
With help from my buddy, we cleared the room, and then I killed him because for whatever reason, if all the Marines, besides Keyes, are dead at this point, the level just ends. I waited for a few moments, but nothing happened. The mission should have concluded, but here I was. What was happening? I then backtracked to find out, and to my horror, another one of the Marines had survived, and both he and Keyes were stuck within a huge group of enemies that would kill them the instant they were all loaded in. I had soft-locked the mission. With only one small stretch from victory, it appeared I would have to start all over again. It was here that I went through the 5 stages of grief.
There's just no way, dude. It should be ending. The mission should be over. There's another Marine. Oh, dude. How did he live? Dude, if the other Marine dies, it's over. I'm gonna cry, dude, genuinely. Almost 4 hours and it's gonna be a waste.
Then suddenly, this happened.
See you, yep.
No!
That's it. The dropship.
No! Without the captain.
Oh, yes! Oh my god. It wasn't a waste, dude. It wasn't a waste, dude. Look at that. Let's go. Oh, dude.
With the hellish gauntlet that is the Truth and Reconciliation behind me, I felt much more confident again. If I could finish that level, I could finish anything. I assumed that the next few missions would be pretty simple, especially compared to the awful things I had just endured. The Silent Cartographer is a bit of a speedrun special. It's easily one of the most popular missions in the franchise to blast through because of the very cool skips it contains. Unfortunately, one of which I was unable to take advantage of. Initially, my plan was to run away from the first conflict, make my way to this warthog, and attempt to use it to fling myself through a door early. as in before disabling the security system later. With the right timing and momentum, it's very doable to fling yourself through the door, but the problem I kept running into was I was splattering the grunts on my way in. They wouldn't get out of my way, no matter how many times I tried, so I had to get in through the long way. I needed to disable the security system as normal, the way Bungie intended. After about 20 frustrating minutes of trying to run through this area that's jam-packed with enemies, I determined that it was likely possible if I got really lucky, but I was annoyed with it and wanted to find an easier alternative.
I'm gonna die now, though. Oh, because the movements of the...
Then I had an idea. If I managed to keep some of the Marines alive from the very beginning of the mission, I could load them into a Warthog and allow the gunner to mow down any grunts that got in my way, maybe even allowing me to attempt the speedrunning trick that I mentioned earlier. So I reset the mission and helped the Marines as best as I could, which was surprisingly easy, actually. As long as I quickly eliminated the elites, the Marines had no problem mopping up the grunts in the first area. Once the beach was cleared, Foehammer brought me the tool that would hopefully allow me to coast through the rest of the level. A Warthog. Once inside, a few Marines piled in with me and we set off towards the building containing the map room. I quickly discovered that if I was in the driver's seat when a Marine killed a grunt, the game counted that as me killing them. To remedy this, I just parked them in a decent spot and watched as they mowed down the Ungoi soldiers from afar. Once all the enemies were killed, I carefully drove the Warthog into the building and down the ramp that leads to the door I intended to slip through, but first I had to wait on the Marines to take out the grunts, which they would not do. For some reason.
He actually won't do anything. Look at it. Alright.
Annoyed, I headed out towards the security section. After arriving, I carefully took down each jackal, making sure I didn't kill a grunt in the process while my Marine buddies shot at them from a safe position within the Warthog. I then parked the vehicle far enough away so that the grunts in the next area couldn't easily stick them, got pissed off about the shitty hitbox of this tree.
What am I hitting? Dude, what is this? Look at this hitbox. Look how far this extends.
And pushed my way through the ravine that led to my objective. I lured the next wave of grunts back slightly for the Marines to kill, then ran as fast as I could past the final group and towards a few hunters, who I promptly dispatched with ease. I killed some jackals on my way to the inside of the structure, dodging all the grunts along the way until I made it inside and activated the panel, granting me access to the map room. For some reason, all of the grunts from the previous area just die, so I'm free to walk right on out without any resistance. I then jumped off this cliff, landing on a rock to slide down and negate fall damage before returning to the Warthog containing my plucky accomplices. Together we headed towards the map room, and once we arrived, I hopped out and left them behind. The next portion of the mission is absolutely brimming with enemies, many of which are grunts, but using some cool trick jumps, I'm going to skip them all. Instantly after the optional shafted cutscene, I jumped down, carefully landing on the slanted surface below so that I don't take fall damage. After that, I fell down again, using the corner of this box below me to survive the next fall instead of the overshield for some reason. All I had to do now was activate the next panel and make my way back up to the surface. After killing 2 elites that were blocking my path, I slipped past a bunch of other hostiles to make it into this room. Then I did an easy grenade jump and grabbed an active camo power-up. Thanks to the partial invisibility, I was easily able to make my way out, utilizing a few trick jumps to save time and slip away before my camo was all used up. Once at the surface, I killed the active camo elites at the top and boarded the Pelican, completing the Silent Cartographer with 0 grunt kills. Or so I thought.
The Covenant did a
Let's check it. 1? Oh, f me. What do you mean 1?
Okay, time for round 2, I guess.
Is it a W this time? Let's.
Believe it or not, assault on the control room was actually the easiest mission yet. You'll see why shortly. Immediately after exiting the Pelican, I was attacked by 2 elites and a ton of grunts. I found that if I ran full speed into the room they came from, occasionally killing the elites if given the chance, I had a somewhat decent chance of making it past all of the enemies in the cramped space. After that, I made my way into the next room, killing some jackals and, you guessed it, sidestepping some ungoi. Once outside, I performed a really cool speedrun glitch by jumping off of the bridge to land on a small crevice directly below. After that, I fell down even further, just barely landing on the cliffside that encapsulates most of the outdoor portions of the map. I skirted across it for a little while, then slip and slide haloed my way down to the ground. By performing this glitch, every single enemy throughout the rest of the level never spawns, and I can walk through it without ever getting attacked. Oh, except for this asshole.
What the f- What the f- Are you kidding me?
Big thanks to NervyDestroyer Speedruns for articulating the positioning for this glitch. Go check out his video if you want some extra clarity. After that, I basically just walked to the end.
Whoa! Whoa!
This is it. Halo's control center.
And let's take a look. 1 Banshee, 4 elites, 3 jackals, 14 minutes. We're done.
Much like the last mission, this level is pretty easy. Starting off, I instantly threw a grenade to cause a glitch that kept me in the Pelican as it flew away, effectively dropping me off out of bounds. I then casually walked on top of the map until I got to the entrance of Halo's substructure and slipped right on in. Every other group of enemies basically went the same exact way. I completely avoided all of them. I have nothing interesting to report.
Too easy. And would you look at that? 3 for 3 kills, spark done, no grunts killed. Surprise, surprise. Check it out. Look, see? Look, 0. 0 grunts killed.
I never thought I'd say this, but it felt good to be in the library. Why, you might ask? Well, because there's not a single grunt in this mission. Finishing it is really just a formality. So, we're done.
Oh my god, look. Whoa, whoa, look. Only 200. Wow.
Though traditionally considered to be the hardest mission in the game, I was hopeful when approaching 2 Betrayals, because unlike basically every other level before it, I knew for a fact that beating it without killing grunts was possible, on account of the fact that there's literally an achievement for doing so called Look Out for the Little Guys, which I have. First things first, I dodged the initial grunts using the sentinels as a distraction, then made my way to the door that leads outside. There's a really simple and really dumb glitch here that allows you to temporarily prevent 95% of the enemies ahead from spawning. All you have to do is activate the switch, wait until the animation on the panel finishes, and activate it again. Thanks for reminding me how to do this, Naked Eli. This allowed me to make my way to the Banshee down below without getting butchered. Once inside the aircraft, I flew back to the glitchy switch and activated it again, triggering the rest of the enemies to spawn in. They have to be present in order for the level to move forward, at which point I flew right up to the first pulse generator. You know, the glowing blue beams that have to be deactivated throughout the level. Once I got in
This first room. Oh shit.
Once I got in,
This is range.
Can I still?
So, if we damage or destroy...
Once I got in, I stepped into the field to break it and was now 1/3 of the way done with the mission. The following room was a little tricky, requiring some stealth to slip by. I waited for this grunt to walk forward so that I could sneak behind him, then crouched under each of these windows to avoid being spotted. After that, I ran past some more grunts, killed a few jackals, and stopped in this long hall. It was likely possible to run to the end and survive, but I wasn't getting a decent checkpoint, so I opted to bait the elites into killing the grunts with friendly fire.
Pretty good. It went right through him! Oh my god, it went right through him, dude. It literally went through him, I saw it. Bullshit. Oh, that was such bullshit! Pretty good. That's pretty good. It went right through him!
The next few sections are fairly unremarkable thanks to the flood helping me and the general lack of grunts in certain areas.
God, I heard this. Oh, Jesus Christ. It hits the rocket flood.
After fighting through lots of flood, I made my way to a ghost, carefully drove it up this hill, used it to float right past a massive group of enemies, and grabbed a banshee.
Bam, bam, bam. Let's make sure. Verify. 3 banshees.
Keys is the next level, and it's also fairly straightforward thanks to the flood. There's an awesome glitch that you can do in the very beginning of this mission to skip straight to the proto-grave mind instantly, but unfortunately I'd have to kill a bunch of grunts to pull it off. So I have to take the long way around by falling through the hole in the belly of the Truth and Reconciliation and eventually making my way back inside. I did get stuck in this hallway for a little while because the Covenant managed to kill all of the flood before the grunts died. To remedy the problem, I just bounced around for a while until they killed each other with friendly fire. It was boring. After smashing Key's skull in, I hid in the back corner of the room until most of the grunts were killed by the flood.
Shit, I didn't expect more. Holy shit. Oh, if I live this? Oh, that's badass.
Once I was satisfied they'd been eliminated, I ran like hell to a banshee to finish the level. With Keys finished, I was just one mission from victory. The mall was all that remained. I was on the home stretch, and my legendary Zero Grunt kill run was about to be complete. This level has very few grunts in general, most of which can easily be evaded with some clever timing and assistance from the flood. The only roadblock I ran into was the observation room. There are several grunts there that have to be killed in order to plug Cortana into the Pillar of Autumn systems and progress through the level. At first I tried getting them to kill each other via friendly fire, which seemed possible but was pretty tedious, and there was a high probability that I would die in the process.
Oh my god, that really killed me?
Eventually, I just decided to keep some infection forms alive long enough to enter the observation room and do the deed for me. The problem was they spawned in the previous section, which was stuffed full of grunts, an elite, and a hunter. I killed the elite as quick as I could, then let the flood take down the Ungoi. Once they were gone, I was ready to lure them into the next room, but the infection forms were dead set on killing this hunter first. I wanted to help them, but if I backtracked to take down the Lekgolo hive, an additional wave of grunts and elites would spawn in behind me and make short work of the few infection forms I had left to work with. So, after waiting for a while, the hunter finally died. I then lured the little boogers towards the grunts and allowed them to feast upon their lobster dinner. After that, I basically just played the mission normally until the final elevator right before the Warthog run. When the lift comes down, it's jam-packed with enemies, many of which are grunts. To circumvent having to kill them, I simply waited for them to get off, then ran past as quickly as I could. All that remained was the final stretch of the mission, and getting through here was easy. I just drove cautiously, making sure not to splatter any of my little buddies along the way. Before finishing the game, I made a quick pit stop to say hi to an old friend.
Better hurry. Hey, buddy.
Good thing that food nipple's waiting for me at the starship. Cause, man, if I worked up a big, crunchy thirst!
Halo, it's finished.
No. I think we're just getting started.
Let's verify. There we go. 5 elites.
So, can you beat Halo CEN Legendary without killing any grunts? Yes. Yes, you can. Is it fun? No. Alright, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around until this point, would you mind subscribing to my channel? Oh, you just did? Wow, thanks. If you like weird challenge videos like this, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make more. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play something else.
No, 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 no! Wait. Hey! Wait!